Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
This is the Nash Villager podcast. It's July 30th, 2026. On this day in 1869, a ship called the Charles set off on a history-making journey. Some consider it to be the world's first true oil tanker, designed with large tanks for carrying crude oil instead of loading the hull with barrels of petroleum. The ship was built in Antwerp, Belgium. But the first time it carried a load of oil, the product was loaded on in the United States and taken to Europe. At that time, the discovery of huge Middle Eastern oil fields was still decades away. So the U.S. and Russia were the two biggest oil-producing nations in the world. Tankers made a huge difference in our nation's ability to sell our product to other nations that were jumping on the gas-powered trend. I'm Nina Cardona, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee with context and backstory from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. The early locations where Americans drilled for oil might surprise you. The first major boom was in Pennsylvania, of all places. And you might be surprised as well to know that Tennessee does a modest business in oil drilling to this day. A database of permitted oil and gas wells on the state website shows 16,000 across Tennessee. Now, that number is a little misleading, though, because when you scroll through, quite a few are labeled as being dry and abandoned. According to the Federal Energy Information Administration, Tennessee's first oil well went online in 1866, and production here peaked more than a century later in the early 80s. For a couple of years running, just over 1 million barrels a year were extracted here. These days, the annual output is more like 165,000 barrels. To put that into perspective, Tennessee's lone refinery, which is in Memphis, can process more volume in one day than we drill from the ground in the average year. On the consumption side, however, we gobble the stuff up. And honestly, that goes for energy overall. When you add up all that we use compared to all that we make, and this is across the various sources of energy, this state uses about 4 times more energy than is produced here. We're in the top third of the nation for energy consumption per person. That's going towards fueling our cars and keeping the lights and AC on in our houses, of course. But a lot of that usage is due to manufacturing facilities, too. And at first glance, you might think that's a sign that we have a lot of factories. And number of facilities is part of it. But it's also a measure of how efficient they are or aren't. And when you compare the energy used to the dollars those manufacturers earn off of products made here, the ratio isn't the greatest. Energy consumption per dollar of GDP in Tennessee is 18% higher than the national average. Now, that's all based on data compiled last year. To get an even more full and accurate picture, we need to factor in what's coming on down the pike. All of these debates over data centers are in part discussions over whether or not to allow massive consumption of electricity. And as the Tennessee Valley Authority moves forward with its plans for generating that power, it relies heavily on building more and more gas-powered plants. As WPLN environmental reporter Caroline Eggers has reminded us many times, gas plants need a steady supply of juice. So new gas-powered plants means new pipelines snaking across the countryside. Those aren't popular in the rural communities they pass through, and they aren't foolproof. Just a few years ago, a gas pipeline in West Tennessee was damaged by a lawnmower, spilling more than 200,000 gallons of crude oil into a creek. Crews managed to stop the flow just before it reached the point where it could have contaminated the aquifer that is the main source of drinking water in Memphis. More and more, TVA is a company committed to gas power. But in a lot of ways, it was built on one of the original forms of renewable energy, hydroelectric power. There are 28 dams across Tennessee used to make electricity. We're the second largest producer of hydroelectric power on this side of the Mississippi. And the biggest plant of that kind in the state, Raccoon Mountain, even has a sort of water battery to help when river levels are low. When electricity demand is low, usually at night, water is pumped up into a reservoir high in the mountains outside of Chattanooga so that it can be released to pass through the dam when power demands are high or water levels are low. There's one other form of energy that Tennessee used to produce that seemed to be in stasis for a few years, Coal mines were once dotted around our state's portion of the Appalachian Mountains. Some of them were manned by state prison inmates who were leased out to the mine operators as a cheap labor force. According to the federal government, no coal has been mined in this state in the last 4 years, but permits were granted last year for a new surface mining site near the Kentucky state line in Claiborne County. In just a few minutes, what happened to Union Station's original Mercury statue? That's coming up after the newscast.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.
Way back in 1952, the bronze Mercury statue atop Union Station took a tumble. There's been a replacement up there for the past 30 years, and that prompted the question,
the original, I'm wondering where it could be.
Curious Nashville chases down the old bronze with some twists and turns along the way. Learn more and ask your question at WPLN.org/curious.
Here's the latest from WPLN News. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents have a directive not to arrest people who are pregnant, postpartum, or nursing. But ICE arrested a new mom in Nashville who had no criminal charges. WPLN's Mariana Bacallao reports that's the subject of a complaint filed by a coalition of immigrant rights groups.
The Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition says that since her arrest, Maria Perez has been transferred nearly 700 miles away from her 10-month-old daughter to a Louisiana detention center. Maria Perez is a pseudonym Turk's lawyers have used to protect her safety. She was arrested while trying to take her kids to a doctor's appointment. Her detainment has caused medical complications for Perez, who has diabetes, her 2-year-old with Down syndrome who hasn't been able to see a doctor, and her baby who is still breastfeeding. Turk, along with the ACLU of Louisiana and other immigrant rights groups, is calling for ICE to release Perez, who is seeking asylum from domestic violence she faced in Guatemala. Mariana Bacallao, WPLN News.
ICE did not respond to WPLN's request for comment. The Metro Nashville School Board rejected the applications of 4 charter schools for the second time. WPLN's education reporter Camelia Burris says finances played a major role in the decision.
The school board voted on Tuesday to deny applications for 4 schools: the Gates School, Music City Academy, Empowerment Academy, and Nashville School of Excellence. Limited finances was the main reason they rejected the charter schools, which are publicly funded but run privately. Other concerns were teacher-student ratio and academic performance. But the decision was not unanimous. Board member Robert Taylor voted yes for 2 schools. He says that families want more options.
There is a sense that parents are looking for other opportunities for their children. I would say a good portion of the parents that reached out to me were on waiting list for magnet opportunities.
He also says that schools can still appeal to the state commission, which can override the board's rejection. So the district will still end up having to fund them. Other school board members said that charter schools take kids away from nearby traditional public schools. This means reduced course offerings and staff. Camelia Burris, WPLN News.
Well, it is back to school time here in Middle Tennessee. Classes in Nashville begin on August 11th. A new study offers a breakdown of what families of different income levels are expected to spend on school prep this year. A family making between $50,000 and $100,000 will spend $900. Lower income families will spend around $650. But the state's tax-free weekend from July 31st to August 2nd offers families some relief. Clothes and school supplies priced at $100 or less per item qualify. Computers and laptops that cost less than $1,500 will also be tax-free this weekend. Tennessee is one of 5 states that could play a leading role in the future of nuclear energy and the storage of nuclear waste. WPLN's Daniel Potter reports this week the state made the Department of Energy's shortlist to host a nuclear life cycle innovation campus.
Since World War II, Tennessee has been a nuclear leader, helping develop the first atomic weapons in Oak Ridge. Governor Bill Lee pointed back to that legacy in a statement touting the state's inclusion in the new federal project. The idea is this could drive big investments and create jobs. But a key challenge is federal policymakers have struggled for years to settle on a good place to permanently store nuclear waste. Part of Tennessee's sales pitch is that it could reprocess or reuse some of those materials for things like healthcare, defense, and industry. But that only gets you so far. Some waste has to end up somewhere. The proposal looks at where it could end up underground in the Oak Ridge area. It also says nuclear shipments come with risks, particularly when passing through cities like Nashville and along treacherous stretches of highway in East Tennessee. Whether or to what extent the state will take part in the federal project is not yet final. Daniel Potter, WPLN News.
One of Nashville's largest employers in the finance industry is reporting a record $905 billion in assets under management. That's a milestone for AllianceBernstein, an investment firm that has roughly 4,500 employees, advises wealthy individuals and families, and manages retail clients worldwide. The firm is Nashville's largest publicly traded company, and its strong earnings come amid a climate of political and economic uncertainties. It relocated from New York to Nashville 8 years ago to take advantage of Tennessee's lower taxes and operating costs. The Tennessee Titans have opened their training camp and are looking to snap a 4-year streak of seasons with more losses than wins. The team has a new head coach and spent more money hiring new players than any other team in the NFL. The Titans have 2 preseason games in August at Nissan Stadium, and the first regular season game is at home September 13th. Well, Nashville is an alt-country town right now. The city's always attracted musicians who love a pedal steel guitar and a broken heart. And now New Nashville is making a new version of country music. Music and culture reporter Justin Barney takes us through some of the standout acts of 2026 so far, as well as some upcoming alt-country releases.
In February, Nashville's Owen Burton, a.k.a. Oven, released his fantastic album Gnawing at the Cord. On this record, he realized that all the dads were right. Classic rock rules. This is a Neil Young and Wilco-inspired album that is best served with an ice-cold Miller Genuine Draft. June brought us Styrofoam Wino's album Any River. This is a band with no lead singer. If you see them live, after each song, they trade positions and instruments. I have never seen anything like it. Lou Turner, Trevor Necrant, and Joel Kenkel all bring their own flavor to each song, but in the end, they coalesce in a sound that is gentle and smooth.
They find pearls in the oysters down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, down in Mississippi, Mississippi.
Coming up this year, Brennan Wadle will release her self-titled album. She became a favorite with indie musicians Waxahachie and Snail Mail, and Waxahachie's label Anti ended up signing her. Both Waxahachie and Snail Mail appear on the album that has Lucinda Williams-inspired production. And in September, Medium Build will release The King of Having Fun. On this album, almost every song he is the king of something. Yearning, chaos, little treats, and even the king of East Nashville's pseudo-dive bar, Schulman's. His lyrics are a perfect mix of funny and poignant. For Nashville Public Radio, I'm Justin Barney.
He's at the Home Depot buying all the stuff to build a house.
You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. It's time for Curious Nashville. Today, listener Christina wants to know about the sculpture that used to be on the Union Station clock tower downtown.
It was Mercury, and it came down, was never put back up. We have a primitive replica, I think, up there, but the original, I'm wondering where it could be.
WPLN's Tony Gonzalez and Josh Deepen found the answer.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Tony.
So take me back. When this question first came in, kind of what was your reaction?
Oh, I mean, I like lost artifact stories a lot. So I thought this one would be really cool. And I like mythology too, Mercury and Hermes and all that. This is more Roman mythology. Of course, I think when something like this is damaged or destroyed or fallen, it just goes into some giant warehouse or closet, never to be seen again. But I mean, you never know, right?
When things go missing, people start wondering.
Right. So the original statue was made for the Centennial Exposition in 1897, initially for the Commerce Building in Centennial Park, and made its way, I think, intuitively to Union Station on the clock tower because it made more sense. And it was there for about 50 plus years.
Well, and when you say it makes sense, I mean, Mercury is associated with travel, commerce,
and all that. Yeah.
Right. So it makes sense that it would end up at a train station.
Yeah.
So let's go to the moment, Josh, of the original Mercury and its fall from grace.
So it was March 22nd, 1952. It was, I think, about 10 in the morning, according to the article that
so like people might be out and about or whatnot.
They might be, but they weren't, luckily, at the exact sidewalk point where it fell, sort of near Broadway. And it was near an entrance, too, supposedly. So it was kind of miraculous that nobody was hurt. I mean, if you look at photos of it, it's very ugly. It's just, it looks like someone punched it in almost. Like it was gnarly.
So what did you gather about the fate of that initial one?
So there was talk of it going to this scrapyard in Louisville. There was also talk of it going to be repaired. That was going to be too costly, cost prohibitive, according to the Nashville, Tennessee newspaper.
So that sculpture could have been scrap or junk or repurposed in that way. But then you found that someone sort of came to the rescue. We're talking about a man named Oscar Ferris. He was an agricultural extension agent with Davidson County. Can you tell us about him and his role?
He was a big proponent of rural heritage in Davidson County in Middle Tennessee. I mean, it seemed that he just got his hands on the...
Like he made a request.
Yeah.
For the fallen bronze.
He got his hands on it is definitely what I know. After that, it was melted down into 2 bronze plaques. And those they were for originally the Tennessee Agricultural Hall of Fame. They're now at the State Ag Museum in the Crieve Hall neighborhood.
You actually got to go see them out in the field.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I paid a visit to the museum just last week just to meet with some people who worked there, and they took me to a corner and showed me a whole wall of bronze plaques. So it seemed to me that they just needed the bronze for a bunch of plaques, and they had enough for 2 from the statue.
Josh got to meet Abigail Coombs, a curator, and Alara Gutterson, the museum director, to see these bronze plaques up close.
These are the only 2 that are made from the Mercury statue. It's the Goodlettsville Lamb and Wool Club, and then the one on Harcourt A. Morgan.
All we know is that they are built or constructed from the bronze that came from the fallen Mercury statue that was bequeathed to
Oscar Ferris, and he was a Davidson County extension agent, and he's who helped set the museum up.
Were you overwhelmed by their beauty? Were you merely whelmed?
I mean, I think personally I'd prefer a Mercury statue, but I'm glad that it had the outcome it did. It's better than going to a scrapyard. And so, I mean, I think it's great when you have an example of that. When something is sort of damaged or tarnished, you can just use some smithing and make something else out of it.
Okay, so that's the original, but let's also kind of fill us in. There is still, if you go down there now, there is Mercury up on top of there. So let's fill in that part of the story. What are we seeing up there these days?
It's a 2-dimensional rendition.
And it got into a scrape as well.
It did. So there was actually quite a long period of time where there was nothing on top of the clock tower. Almost 40 years, there was nothing. And then that was when the 2D statue was mounted. And then a couple years later, in 1998, there was the nasty tornado. It did not fall like the original, but it was bent and warped, and then it was taken down and then put back up and restored. And that's the same one. So about 28 or so years in the same one.
One fallen, one damaged. It almost seems like a mythological curse of some sort.
Right, it is a sort of, jinx.
Well, Josh, thank you so much for doing this reporting.
Appreciate it.
This is Curious Nashville.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. And thanks so much to all of you who've left 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a review in your app of choice. That little bit of love really does tell the algorithms more people should hear about us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. That's it for today. Thanks so much for listening. Let's make this day a good one, and we'll catch back up tomorrow.
Funding for the Nash Villager podcast comes from the neurosurgeons of the Howell Allen Clinic, national leaders in brain and spine surgery, specializing in laser brain tumor surgery and robotic spine surgery. The Howell Allen Clinic. Your life is our life's work.